Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be starting episode 8 in our deep dive series, the Catacombs, and where we try to guide you through specific detour edits and kind of show you along the way. So with that said, today's topic is going to be all about adding a new sound effect into the game and putting that on a monster as like a custom taunt when you first encounter him. So with that said, if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, make sure you like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and let's roll right into it. So as usual, one of the first things we'll do is we're getting ready is just grab all the text files that we need. So for that, we'll go into Data Global Excel. We're going to browse down, and as you might imagine, since we're adding a sound effect to a monster, we're going to go ahead and grab out monsounds.txt. We also need to define the sound itself to the game, so that's going to be done in sounds.txt. And then finally, we need to pick a victim to put our sound effect to use on. And we'll go ahead and use Rakinishu from Act 1, the kind of portal guardian, and that will be done in superuniques.txt. So we've already edited that in our past videos, but we're just going to use those three. So those are the three files for text you'll need. You'll also need a few JSON files. So let's take a look at those. Those are going to be in data, local, language, and strings. The first file we're going to need from there is going to be the text we want our monster to say. So because this is a taunt, this is going to be like a one-time text display while it's playing the audio, and then you won't see it again. So anyways, the actual text for that is going to be done in vo.json, and then to kind of tie the audio to that, we're going to drag out this audio vo.json in the metadata folder so we can get that going. So I will show you another JSON at the end, but for now, that's everything you need to get going with this. So with that said, we're going to go into our Excel folder and get started. So the first thing I guess we'll do is open up superuniques.txt, and we're just going to assign this to our Rakinishu here. And we do that by going to the mon sound column and setting a sound profile for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it the fallen sound profile, but if we can make our own, and you can put whatever you want in here, but you'll see that in just a second. But for us, we're just going to give it the fallen sound profile and edit that to our needs. So we're done with the edit there. Go ahead and save that. We're now going to open up monsounds.txt, and these are all those sound profiles that we just kind of edited. Put in. So you can see our fallen reference here. So I'm going to go ahead and lock the columns and rows, and we're going to follow this fallen column all the way over until we get to this taunt section. I'm going to go ahead and expand that out, and now we need to define the taunt to give it. So I'm going to go ahead and follow a similar structure naming-wise to what Blizzard uses, and we're going to use Rakinishu _ taunt _ 1. And just a real quick side note, if we go into our sound folder, I have a FLAC already going, and I have named it Rakinishu taunt 1. So this is the actual sound file that we're going to be using, but right now we're just kind of setting all the stuff up. So anyways, we're just going to follow a similar naming structure. So we're going to leave it there, and that's the only change we need in this file as well. So just update the taunt, and we're going to go ahead and save that. And now finally, we can go back to our Excel folder here, and we can open up sounds.txt to define the actual file and stuff that we'll be telling it to use. So just give it a second to open everything. It's a bigger file, so it's a little slower. And what we want to do is, because we're going to be using this on like an Act 1 super unique monster, it's just easier for us to clone an existing Act 1 super unique. So I'm just going to do a search for Andariel Taunt. And what you'll see should be these references here, 46, 31, and 32 respectively. We're just going to go ahead and copy those. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those 2 rows at the bottom. Obviously, do your clone thing if you prefer to do it that way. And then we're going to scroll back up because we want to do one more search. So I'm just going to click somewhere below that and do this search again. Oh, sorry, somewhere below. Helps if you follow your own directions. Somewhere below, and hit Find Next. And we should see 2 more references for those same taunts. This is for the kind of HD version or HD references for those. We're going to go ahead and copy those as well. So once more, if you would like to clone, feel free. So we can go ahead and, doesn't let you do it with multiple rows. So there you go, learn something new all the time. So we're just going to add those to the bottom. All right, so as I said before, we'll go ahead and try to keep the naming structure the same just to make it easy to understand. All we want to do is just change this to the name we just gave it in our monstats, monsounds.txt file. So I'm just going to copy and paste that into our first entry here, and our second entry is just going to be the same thing, but with a 2 at the end, and this gives the game like options to use. We're not going to make like actual options, we're just going to make it all use the same thing, but you can if you want. This is just going to help us hopefully stop it from like crashing if it goes to choose an option that doesn't exist. So anyways, we're going to rename those, we're going to update the names for these. We will leave the HD before the number though, just to help us identify them as like the HD reference. But again, this is all we're doing. We're just updating the names to match here and give it some options as for what the game likes. We'll go ahead and update these IDs, and then we're going to lock this top row. And just want to point out this redirect column real quick. This just says, okay, so now when you use like a legacy reference to an audio file, just go ahead and use the HD version instead. So all I'm going to do is just copy and paste that into there. So again, when it goes to use the legacy version, it's going to tell it actually just use this, high def version instead. And we can copy and paste that in for the other one as well, and to change that. We do want to make sure the channel is set appropriately to the boss dialogue sound channel. Not only does this help for the text explain stuff, but it's going to help with the sound mixing properties. And then finally, we need to find the actual file name. If you remember before, we did leave it in the Act 1 monster folder, but we're going to go and update the name to Racconishu Taunt 1. So that's the only change there. Let's go ahead and update that in all the other files. So now all of our entries just use the same thing, but we're just doing it again just to show you an example of how all this works. And we're done with our text edits now. So we can save that, but just a quick recap to kind of explain everything. So we quickly defined what to name our new sound references, and then we've referenced that name in our mon sound file, and we've assigned that to the taunt section of the fallen sound profile. And finally, we've assigned the fallen sound profile to our super unique Racconishu, so that now all that kind of stuff is all linked together. So we're ready to edit our JSON files with the text that we want our monster to say, as well as the actual audio file to use. So for the text, we're just going to do like we normally do. We're going to scroll to the bottom, copy the last entry, and put in what we like. And you can see our previous entry from our NPC up here. But for our ID, we're just going to do something memorable instead of going the next in line. So we'll just do 44444. And for the key, this is going to be our file name. So just once more as a reminder, we named our actual FLAC Racconishu Taunt 1. So that's going to be the file or the key we use here. So we'll just go ahead and put that there. For NUS, this is going to be, or whatever language you're using, sorry, this is going to be the actual text we want it to say, and we're just going to do something generic like "now you will suffer." So that's our text we want our monster to say when we first encounter him. This is the file name it's going to use, and this is the ID to identify it. And then we want to link our new sound file to that. So for that, we're going to go into this metadata folder inside strings and open up our audio VO JSON. So this is roughly going to be the same kind of thing. We're just cloning the last thing and editing it to what we want. And so we'll change the ID to match the ID we just made in our VO file for the text. For the speaker, this is going to, once more, be coming from Racconishu, but this applies to the key in monsters.json. So if you had like a custom monster and it had a different, key or whatever here than the text, this is what it's looking for. So just make sure you put in the appropriate, thing there. But we're not, touching that. So again, it's just coming from Rakunishu. We're going to leave the .wave for the audio file name, but we are going to change it to the actual file name we use, which is, once more, Rakunishu taunt. And for the extra metadata, again, we did copy an Act 1 monster. So we want this to play kind of in the Act 1 dialogue scene. So we're going to change the metadata to use the Act 1 kind of info, and this will help link everything together correctly. And we are all done. So we've edited all of our JSON files. We've edited all of our text files to add everything. So we're just going to go ahead and start the mod and see if it's working. Now I have edited the kind of sound settings some just to make the voice a little easier to hear. Luckily the Barbarian does not skip Lake Day, so the journey there should be pretty quick. Although he does get stuck on rocks, you know how barbarians are. Alright, so let's go see our monster. And there we go. So you can get rickrolled even in Resurrected, and that is an example of how you can do it. Now, as you can see, or hear I should say, the audio cut off pretty quickly, but the actual file is the full-length kind of rickroll. So the reason for that is that there's one more JSON file. I told you I'd mention it at the end, and that's kind of why. So if we go into Data, HD, Global, UI, and we'll see this VO durations folder. In here, for each kind of separate language, you're going to have this JSON file to control durations. So we're going to grab out the NUS for kind of my language, and we're going to open this, and just like everything else, we're going to kind of clone the last entry and put it to what we want. So we're going to add our comma, clone everything, tell it where the exact file is. So we put it in Act 1 Monster and named it Rakunishu Taunt 1. So we'll just go ahead and update that. And this is the full length that we want it to kind of to play. So we're going to go ahead and set it to, I don't know, 55 seconds. Sure. We're going to make them sit through it just so you can kind of see how that takes effect. So once more, we've updated that. We've saved it. We're going to go ahead and start our mod. And we should see now that not only do we get rickrolled, but we get rickrolled with a specified duration, so we can make that, continue how you like. Now, obviously, if your sound file is already very short, it might not clip off, before you need it to. It might just be short enough that kind of happens naturally. But this is a just in case you run into it, you should know what file to edit to manage all that. And so we'll give it just a little bit, just so you can see it doesn't stop now, to enjoy the melody. And there we go. So that's how you can put your own sound effect into the game. And as you can see, because we forced the duration, it doesn't stop even when we're switching characters and stuff. It is gonna play. So just make sure you guys are playing with that appropriately how you like. And that is the tutorial. So thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you guys have learned something, and have a great day. Take care. Bye.